However, the special additional excise duty on petrol continues to remain unchanged at 0. The revised tax rates will be effective from today. And in a bid to smoothen its strategic divestment process, the government has changed the definition of a government company with respect to the minimum 51% shareholding. Not just that, the government has also eased the 25% minimum public shareholding norm for any listed centre, state or PSU-owned company. Sapna Das joins us now to explain what these changes mean. Sapna, help us understand these tweaks.
Well, on two counts. First, of course, a plain and simple extension for CPSEs and PSBs or any other financial institution wherever the central government directly or indirectly holds any stake, or any centrally controlled CPSE that holds stake, and this could also be a state-level CPSE. So that is one clarification in terms of widening the scope of the clarification. That's one. This is pretty comprehensive in nature. I think the aim here is twofold. A, to help those companies, those CPSEs and PSBs which have not met the 25% minimum public shareholding norm, is to help those companies, and also to further the whole aim of strategic disinvestment. For instance, if a company is privatized, the moment it gets privatized, it changes ownership. The government moves out of that, or at least partially moves out of it. From day one, the minimum public shareholding norms kick in. This particular order that we're talking about, or the change in rules, basically allows those companies this kind of exemption. This dispensation of exemption will continue even for companies which are very close to be privatized or which are going to be privatized. I suppose the best case right now would be IDBI Bank. If you look at the public float of the bank, it's hardly around 6%. Now, to expect IDBI Bank post-privatization to go from 6% to 25% in a short period of time, I think that would be very unfair. So I think this particular change in rules takes care of that as well, and that should be kept in mind. Hence, the Gazette mentions from a point of view of strategic disinvestment. And the other thing, of course, I mentioned, it's a general exemption that's being extended because a lot of CPSEs and PSBs have yet to meet the 25% shareholding norm. There'll be a separate notification giving the actual timeline for which the extension will hold. We're given to understand that probably the government is again mulling on a 2-year extension.
All right, Sapna, thank you for explaining those details to us. Now, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella says that he's excited about the cloud adoption in India, highlights that the unique things happening in India is a departure from the previous era, says India has the potential to lead in the cloud plus artificial intelligence era. Take a look.
And we see tremendous momentum today when it comes to cloud adoption. In fact, when I think about Microsoft, that's been the big, when in the client-server era, we sold a few servers in India. But in the cloud era, it's a completely different ballgame, right? When I look at every business and the cloud consumption, it's tremendous to see. We see Adani choosing Azure for its expansion, HFDC using it, in fact, to consolidate all of the data platforms. Yes Bank built their super app. So tremendous adoption of cloud. And in fact, the more and more I talk to my partners and customers here, I get excited about sort of even the unique things that are happening in India using the cloud. And that's, really definitely a real departure from the previous era.
Meanwhile, Suhail Samir has quit as the CEO of BharatPe. The company said that Samir will step down as CEO and will assume the role of a strategic advisor from January 7th. Meanwhile, CFO Nalin Negi has been appointed as interim chief while the board searches for a new CEO. Ritu Singh joins us now with the latest. Ritu, what's the company's succession plan now?
Well, the spate of exits at BharatPe continue, with the company now announcing that its current CEO, Suhail Samir, will be stepping down from his position as the CEO effective the 7th of January and transition into his new role as a strategic advisor for the company. And in the meantime, the CFO, which is Nalin Negi, is going to be acting as the interim CEO while the board looks for the next chief executive officer of BharatPe. Now, we've been given to understand that this decision to move on from his CEO position was mutually agreed upon between Suhail Samir and the board of the company. We understand that Suhail had expressed his intent to move on from BharatPe to the board several months ago, and the board also wanted to expedite the search for the next CEO because they knew of this decision in order to stabilize the ship ahead of the IPO, which is planned for 2 years later, and therefore the decision was mutually agreed agreed upon. But that said, Suhail Sameer was hired by Ashni Grovan, so this will be sort of a clean slate for both the board and for Suhail Sameer also to start over in his full-time capacity as an angel investor. Remember, he's already made a few key investments and he wants to take that up as a full-time job. Rajneesh Kumar, the chairman of Bharat Pay, in his statement acknowledged Suhail Sameer's role, and he also said that they recognize the need to dedicate time and resources into finding the next CEO. And Suhail Sameer also confirming that he will look forward to the next phase of his journey, which is going to be as a full-time investor.
All right, Ritu, many thanks for those details. Now, the e-auction of the Shrey twins under the IBC kicks